WVTC Radio Detroit. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, our website, www.wvtcradio.com, or download our WVTC app from the Play Store for Android users and the App Store for iPhone users. Thank you for tuning to WVTC Radio Detroit and the Community Bell Show with your host, former Wayne County Commissioner Edna Bell. Stay tuned for insightful information Detroiters will find valuable. Text a friend and tell them to watch with you for news you can use. And now, your host, Edna Bell.
Good afternoon. For those that are used to seeing former Commissioner Edna Bell on the air, for some reason we're having some technical difficulties. So my name is Ken Scott. I am the president of the Greater Detroit Realtors Association, as well as a real estate broker for CSW Real Estate. The Greater Detroit Real Estate Brokers Association has been putting on some very, very nice events over the last 3 months, and just want to bring your attention to it. Our website is greaterdetroitrealtist.com. We are a Black organization looking to further the development of our communities, We work with a number of entities over the last few months. We work with national entities, city ish entities, the county ish entities, as well as the local housing counseling agencies, as well as realtors, home the housing counseling agencies, as well as the mortgage lending industry. Over the last few months, you've heard of the down payment assistance that the city of Detroit is offering. It's $25,000 for those that are purchasing a property up to $50,000. You get the full amount. It is a grant. I don't want to make sure. I want to make sure that everybody is aware that it is a grant. It's for first-time home buyers. If you log on to DetroitDPA.org, you will see a number of criteria that is specific to the program. First and foremost, you have to live within the city for a year. You could have been foreclosed on the taxes from 2010 to 2016, but at the same time, remain eligible for that $25,000. Most people aren't aware that it's reserved for primary homeowners. That means that, or first time home buyers as well, that you must live or not have lived in a home or had the financial interest in a home for 3 years, meaning that you could be renting, you could be living with someone, but at the same time, you cannot have a financial interest in the property. There are a number of mortgage products out there, a number of down payment assistance programs out there, a number of underwriting guidelines that are out there. And I want to go specifically to those where it can help you buy a home in its present state. Hopefully, it's move-in ready, but in a lot of cases, it's not, given the old housing stock of the city of Detroit. However, it can be utilized with purchasing a home as well as rehabbing a home in one loan. There are a number of entities out there, such as FHA 203K, that is accessible for those people that are purchasing property. There's also restoration home style and renovation loans from Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac that are available. And you need to call your lender, call a financial institution, see if they're participating with the City of Detroit's down payment assistance program. And if they are, and if they're knowledgeable enough about it, then maybe they can help you with the mortgage product or the rehab mortgage product. Banks have specific programs that are specific to their financial institutions. Those institutions and those loans are called portfolio products, where they have their own twist on how they look at mortgages being done in the metropolitan Detroit area. It could be a credit score of 580. It could be a credit score of 620, 600, 640 and above. But at the same time, you'll never know until you delve into it and look into these financial products. A number of the institutions can be found on DetroitDPA.org. I suggest you go there first to find out a lot of the criteria that's available. In one instance, you may be receiving $25,000 from the city of Detroit, but the financial institution itself could possibly offer you anywhere from 15,000 to 20,000 more in down payment assistance. And it is to your benefit at this point in time. If you have been paying your bills on time for the last 12 to 24 months, if you don't have any debt that you have not been paying, if you're in a financial situation where you've been working on your job for 2 years in the same industry or transferred in an industry, but as long as you've been working on your job for 2 years, then you may be eligible for this $25,000. Did you know that the down payment assistance programs can be used to buy a move-in ready home or an as-is home in the city? In the city, it just needs to meet building code standards. Make sure that we're making sure that you're buying a home that you can move in right now. You can do the renovations uh, prior to that, but at the same time, it's if it's habitable by the building code of the city of Detroit, then it's a possibility for you to be able to purchase that home. Let's see. Did you know you can buy a home with a credit score of 580? There are certain financial institutions that offer the possibility of getting a loan with 580. That's a FHA requirement. However, homes that are with FHA may require that the home not have any peeling paint inside or outside, might not need any tuck pointing on the outside of the home. The roof has to be have a life of 3 years as well as the furnace, and want to make sure that all mechanisms in the home, the heating, ventilation, and cooling, the electrical, as well as the plumbing, are all in working condition and functional, meaning that you don't have any problems of it um, uh, not working over the next 3 to however many years that you want to live in the property. Um, let's see what else. Um, Again, I can't emphasize the income guidelines as well. If you look at the city of Detroit's DetroitDPA.org, it will outline what you what your cap is as far as a one-person household, a two-person household, all the way up to an eight-person household. It will tell you the income guidelines of which you need to know. You have to live in the home for 3 years, and if you don't live in it and you only live in there 2 years, you have to pay a third of that money back to the city of Detroit, because the funds that are being allocated are $6 million. Somewhere upwards of 1.5 million have already been utilized. Okay, so if your situation is where you paid your bills on the last 12 months to 24 months, and you have a credit score exceeding 580 and hopefully a lot higher, but at the same time, at that point, you can possibly be eligible to buy a home. The first step that we always encourage an individual to do in order to stave off foreclosure later on in the market is to reach out to a HUD housing counseling agency. Those are listed on that site as well. So if you're not understanding what the steps are in pursuing home ownership or attaining home ownership, please go on the DetroitDPA.org site. They will tell you, or it will tell you, certain processes and certain steps that need to be taken in order for you to attain home ownership. Go to the housing counseling section first. Once you've figured out from the housing counseling agency or the person that's the housing counselor is stating that you are ready to move to the lending process, then at that point in time, they will give you X amount of mortgage lenders or financial institutions to call in order to get pre-approved. There's a difference between pre-approved and pre-qualification. Pre-qualification is where your assets and your bank statements, your pay stubs, and what have you are not verified. Pre-approval is when it is verified by a lending institution. You've gone in there, you've given them your W-2s or your 1099s for the last 2 years. You've given them your bank statements or your pay stubs for the last 2 months. And at that point in time, they determine whether you are a good risk of getting your pre-approval. Pre-approval is based on your credit score, obviously, your finances or your reserves, and your debt to income ratio. A lot of financial institutions have expanded their debt to income ratio. It used to be somewhere around 43% on the back end, meaning that it was your housing ratio of your rent, your utilities, whatever the case may be. but at the same time, it also included the other debt that was on your credit report. And you have to be cognizant of that. I always suggest that people go on to annualcreditreport.com, pull all three credit report repository reports, Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. However, when you go on there, it's going to have some boxes pre-checked for you. I want to make sure that you uncheck those boxes because they may sign you up for a subscription where you can get your credit checked on a monthly basis, which is not all bad. But at the same time, if you are trying to get pre-approved and you can't afford whatever the nominal amount that they're charging, uncheck those boxes and what have you, so they can send you the actual report. Now, the report is going to come in a downloadable form, or you can print it off. I always suggest that you download the form so you can have it on your computer. At any given moment, you can revisit it and go over the credit report to make sure that it is actually you. It is actually the address that you're at or the previous addresses that you lived at. Make sure that the phone number is correct. Make sure that your employer is correct. Make sure that any entity or any credit line that you've taken out is correct, and make sure that it's not you're not being victimized by predatory lending. Okay, at that point in time, once everything has been verified and it is you, because in a lot of cases where it's a male, it may be a senior, it may be a junior, it may be a second, third, fourth, whatever the case may be. Or in the case of a woman, it may be your married name or your maiden name. You want to make sure that the numbers and the information match up. So once that's been done and it's been verified by your lender, then you can actually go on there, look at the report, and take that credit report, whether it be Equifax, TransUnion, or Experian, take that to your housing counseling agency as well as your lender, but specifically to your housing counseling agency because they're going to walk over the public information that's on the site, the financial information that's on the site, your employer that's on the site, what have you, and everything, and make sure that everything is verified properly so you can go to the next step of getting pre-approved. Now, it's going to be based on your income, it's going to be based on your credit score, but it's going to be also based on your verification of your employment and what have you. This is a program that is not for investors. The reason being is because Black home ownership as a whole has dwindled in our community substantially over the last 10 to 15 years. We are in the process of trying to increase Black home ownership wherever and whenever we can. Whether we have to go to your churches to make sure that you're aware of your churches, or we go to your job. We've been known to go to barbershops, beauty salons, nightclubs to make sure that we meet you where you are, to make sure that you are not spending exorbitant amount of rent, meaning $300 to $500 more than you should in order to attain home ownership. That's just not acceptable in this market. If you're paying that much, that's taken away from all the other things that you could do, the other quality of life issues that you could address and what have you. Your children's education, your vacation, if you choose to, or just being able to advance in some way. That $300 to $500 could be utilized for something else. Not only that, as a real estate as a real estate broker, I have ventured into homes where they were barely habitable, and that is not acceptable. Your health, welfare is something that you shouldn't compromise on. Okay, If that's the situation, then you need to make that known to the authorities because you should not be living in those type of environments. We want you to live in a healthy environment. We want your children to be in a healthy environment. And that's usually not the case when it's substandard housing, whether it be homes that are for rent or lease to own, or however you want to say it, or a land contract, or whatever the case may be. That is, like I said, totally unacceptable. And we want to make sure that you have a home of your own. Being the president of Greater Detroit Realtors Association, our number one charge is to increase Black home ownership throughout the Detroit city of Detroit and surrounding communities. We can only do that if you come out to our events, our home buying seminars, what have you. We've given several over the last few months. At Mary Grove, we gave one April 13th and 15th at Mary Grove because this is something that we feel passionate about. We have a vested interest in your success. Keep in mind, family, family, if it is family, has a vested interest in your success and not your failure. We try to offer as much hope, access, and opportunity as we can in order to reach out to our respective communities, whether it be the east side, the west side, the northwest side, the southwest side, uh, uh, surrounding suburbs. We want to make sure that you are living in a good home and you have the possibilities of living in that home for 30 years or however long you want to live in that home. We want to make sure that you want to live in there comfortably. You want that home to be functional, and you want it just to be able to invite family and friends over and say, "Hey, listen, this is something I bought." Um, and speaking of buying, um, a lot of our people are subject to generational renting. For those individuals that are renting presently, their parents rented, their grandparents rented. I offer you hope, access, and opportunity to an alternative home ownership. Black home ownership equals black wealth. Can't attain it without it. It's very difficult to attain it without it. For you that are fearful of home ownership, haven't gotten the proper information, have been discriminated because of fair housing laws, simply are not aware of the steps to take to get to home ownership, whether it be the mortgage process, whether it be the housing counseling agency that are out there every day representing us, teaching us, counseling us, what have you. For those that have a credit score that is somewhere between 580 and 600, and you're not sure whether you can buy a home or what have you, we want to make sure that you know that home ownership is possible. But at the same time, you cannot be fearful of it. Ask questions, whether it be the housing counselor, whether it be the mortgage lender, whether it be the realtor or the realtors, whether it be anyone in the industry that can get you where you are. You need to ask questions. And when you hear that there's a home buying seminar happening in your neighborhood, whether it be your neighborhood or down at Huntington Place, like we had a couple of days ago, we want to make sure that you are aware that home ownership is possible, but you have to be able to start. You can't be fearful of starting. You can't be fearful of finding out information. And I know there's a lot of Pookies and Ray Rays out there telling you various stories about what needs to be done. There is nothing like going to a housing counseling agency or a reputable real estate professional that can guide you through the process and make it possible for you to own a home. We don't want to make this a difficult situation. We want to make this as easy as possible so more can attain it and attain it comfortably. Um, the DetroitDPA.org again is a possibility where you can reach all these entities on one site. You can reach the housing counseling agency, you can reach the mortgage lender, you can reach the realtor or realtors, but at the same time, make sure that you're reaching out to the best possible professional that you need to in order to secure that information. Um, we make ourselves accessible every day. The one thing that we complain about in this profession called real estate or housing counseling agencies or mortgage lenders is those individuals that need to be reaching out to us very seldom do. And let me talk about a phrase that my mentor came up with, and it applies. Preparation meets opportunity. And then another mentor said, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. So make sure that you're ready at all times in order to attain home ownership. Find out what it takes from one of the many housing counseling agencies that are out there, the reputable mortgage lenders that are out there, financial institutions, and the reputable brokers that are out there that teach every day and waiting on you to walk through the door to find out the necessary information so you can attain black home ownership, thus attaining black wealth. Um, you can always reach me at 313-863-5555. I am a real estate broker for CSW Real Estate. I'm past president of the Detroit Association of Realtors. I'm present president of the Greater Detroit Realtors Association, and we take home ownership serious. Getting you prepared is what we are required to do in order to earn the commission that we get. Hold us to account, and like I've always told anyone seeking home ownership, interview us like they interviewed you for a job. Find out what it takes, what the steps are, and when you could be handed the keys at the end of the process. It can be up and down given the inventory that's out here, and don't let me sugarcoat that because there's very low inventory, not only in the city of Detroit, not only in the region, but nationally is low inventory. And being the fact that Detroit has older housing stock, and there are a lot of people that have hundreds of properties under their in their inventory. My hope is that if you are a property manager or if you're a landlord and that property is not presently being used, put that home on the market so someone can have a vested interest in the community that they're living in. There are homes that are just sitting right now that some family could be in right now because they want to have a vested interest in the neighborhood. They want to send their child to the school that's in the community. They want to grow up like we did, where we went to three schools. We went to an elementary school, a junior high, or middle school, and a high school. We had alumni associations. We still do have alumni associations. These kids nowadays are going to five schools. When they took a lot of the schools out of the neighborhood, there went our community. Because we used to know the person living next door to us or across the street or in back of us. In a lot of cases, we're transient, meaning that we're going from location to location to location. For those that are renting or generational renters, put a stake in the house that you want to buy. Buy that home. Be a positive role model for those that come after you, that want to invest in a great neighborhood, that are not seeking a great neighborhood outside the city, but inside the city. And for me, being a person that is first vice president of the 12th Precinct Police Community Relations, get involved in your community. Get involved in your community. Sit down and talk with the powers to be in that respective precinct so you can make that precinct or that community or that block club better than it was. In a lot of cases, the individuals that are running those block clubs and neighborhood associations and precincts are getting older now. You're not doing anything on one of those nights that they're holding a meeting. Attend that meeting and ask, how can I be of assistance? How can I make my neighborhood better? And that's by buying a home, one home at a time, for those individuals that are paying way too much in the rental process and living in substandard housing way too long. Martin Luther King used to have a statement that said, how long? How long will we stop being generational renters? How long will our communities stay like they are? How long will we start, before we start cleaning up our neighborhoods, helping our seniors out in our neighborhoods, and making it the neighborhood that we want it to be? My name is Ken Scott. I am president of the Greater Detroit Realtors Association. I am the real estate broker for CSW Real Estate. I'm the first vice president of the 12th Precinct Police Community Relations. I get involved because I care. I hope you care as much as you say you do, and let your actions dictate the next step. I want to thank Edna Bell for allowing me to host the show. It is always my pleasure to be on the Community Bell Show. I appreciate the opportunity. Anytime that I can talk about home ownership, I will be there. So thanks again. Thanks again to WVTC, the stellar award-winning radio program. It has been a pleasure being aligned with you all over the last few months, and I look forward to many, many more appearances. Thank you, Sandy.
Thank you for listening to Community Bell with your host, former Wayne County Commissioner Edna Bell. This broadcast was brought to you by WVTC Radio Detroit. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, our website, www.wvtcradio.com, or download our WVTC app from the Play Store for Android users and the App Store for iPhone users. If you've enjoyed this broadcast, tell a friend to tune in. We'll see you next Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern to the Community Bell Show, right here on WVTC Radio Detroit.
The views and opinions expressed on the previous broadcast are those of the authors and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of WVTC Radio Detroit, its advertisers, or affiliates.
Here's just one of the fine programs right here on WVTC Detroit. Hey y'all, summer is coming. We want to remind you of the WVTC. Wash your hands. Stay updated on your vaccinations. If you got a temperature, get a COVID test and cover your cough. We're on a mission, so don't let COVID stop you. We are WVTC Detroit. What it is. We're gospel music, preaching, teaching, inspiration, encouragement, news, and guest interviews. We are what it is. WVTC. We're winning victories. What it is. Through Christ. WVTC Detroit. All up in the community. That's who we are. What it is. Here's just one of the fine programs right here on WVTC Detroit.
You're listening to WVTC Gospel Radio Detroit, and we're flowing in the Spirit.